Okay, what this is a loom. It's one of the looms I weave rugs on. I've got it set up side because I'm going to finish off what string is on it and then pack it away. But I see the wind is coming up, so I was going to quick do a video so you can see what it is. This particular one is over 200 years old, but it's the one that I use when I do art shows over the summer, because this one I can haul around. It breaks down very easily. It's like 15 minutes up or down, but I'll show you. It's held together with wooden wedges, 3 on each side, and you just pop them out of there and it all comes apart. So the only tool I need really to make it up or down is that big ass wooden hammer there. But I'll set the camera up here and show you how the thing works. Okay, the material I'm working on, I did that blanket thing the other day, so you kind of understand what I do with blankets. But this is an old U.S. Army blanket, and I've got this much 2 balls left over from a project I did for a long rug for somebody down south. So I'm just using this to finish up the string before I pack it away, you know, and this will actually make a nice little rug. Because on this loom I weave 21 wide. Most of mine I'll go like 27 or up to 40 inches wide. But how this thing works, okay, there's 2 pedals down here. When you push a pedal, it runs these what are called harnesses up and down. And what there is, these are waxed linen cords here, and there's 2 knots and the string runs between. There's front, back, they're hooked directly to the pedals. Yeah, there's going to be a little dog barking, but they've been arguing a little this morning. Okay, this is called a reed. It's actually, this one is made out of metal slats, a split dowel and then metal slats, and that spaces out your threads and allows you to pound it back. Now, the original one that came with the loom was made out of split bamboo, but that is for making cloth. This works for rugs. But you push down one pedal, and half the strings are up and half are down. Run the shuttle through. I hit it one time to bring it back, and then I change my foot from one pedal to the other. I can see how the strings cross. Then you pound it back, you know, and then just keep going like that. It's a simple mechanism. This basic design, it was actually came out of northern Minnesota. I'm sure it was a Finn that built it, but it's a Scandinavian design. But these haven't changed since the Middle Ages, the basic design of them. The newer ones, they don't use as heavy a wood, you know, they changed in that way, and they're bolted together. I like the wedge together one for hauling it around because it tears down very quickly, and also it's not as fussy about uneven ground, because a lot of times I'm set up in parks, you know, out on ground that isn't level. A bolt together one would break, whereas this one, it adjusts. And the string that runs that way, see, I'm doing it a little different. I'm doing what's called double slayed, where there's actually 2 strings run together but spaced twice as far apart. It makes a stronger rug. It works very well. But I'm using its regular carpet warp that comes out of, well, it used to come out of Kentucky, now it comes out of Michigan. But it's Maysville warp, and when they're new, these spools are about that big. You know, that's, I use up the odds and ends on this one. And it's funny because when my mom first started weaving, you know, that's where I caught on from weaving. Is when my mom always did it and still does. But I know it used to be 25 cents a spool. Now it's, well, last I bought it was like 4 1/4 a spool, but it's probably up closer to 5 by now, because I've got quite a little warp ahead, you know, because I knew it was going to go up. But But this is what I do. It's why I'm always looking for old blankets. You know, but like I said, the good ones I keep. The wore out ones, the ones that have got stains or tears in them, they go into rugs. And it goes pretty fast. Oh, and I should explain, I'll see when I get up here. People never quite understand, you know, they think, well, okay, you can only make a little 6-inch rug, but that isn't how it works. You can go as long as you want. Because as you weave, you know, as I get further this way, the beater doesn't work as well. Pretty soon it'll start pushing down on the material more than packing it back. So I take the tension off over here, hit this lever. When I hit this lever, it releases the ratchet on that back part and it lets string out, comes this way, and then you roll up underneath. So as you weave, you keep rolling the rug up underneath so I can go real long. And this ratchet also keeps the tension on because you need good tension in order to pack it. Though wool is a fairly easy weaving material, the harder stuff is the blue jeans, which I do a lot of, because you know, you're pounding on them, it's like pounding on a piece of wood or something. They pack in there really tight. In fact, there's a lot of the newer machines that you really can't weave blue jeans on. They can't take that beating. In fact, this one underneath here, for cloth you didn't need to beat that hard, but for rugs they put a big iron bar underneath, and I have seen some of them where they actually, you know, this thing just sits in here to hold the reed. They'll take and hollow out underneath the reed and then pour in melted lead to give it that extra weight. But these are interesting, these old handmade ones, you know, no two are alike. They'll use the same basic design, but the dimensions will always be different. I like this particular one because it's made for taller people. I run into a lot of times, I'll demonstrate at museums, and some of their old looms are made for much smaller people, and it's very awkward for me to work in them. This one I can work in. Even wearing Carhartts and pack boots. Okay, and like here now, okay, I come to the end of that strip, or almost. But you can see I've got a taper cut on this, okay? Run this piece in, get it to where I need it. Then I've got, this is where an old lard can works really well. Make sure I'm on the right ball here. Because when I'm working with two different balls, I'll alternate balls. But I just put that in there. Got a taper cut on this end. Wind it out to the shuttle. And you don't dare fill the shuttle too full because it gets it hard to push it through if it's too full. And if you have to push it hard, then you're stretching the strings and it'll make an uneven rug. Okay, now there's a taper on both ends of that, so I'll bring it up there so that the taper overlaps about 4 inches, and then hammer it in. You just never want to do a splice right on the end, and you always have to cut the taper. But once it's pounded in there, there's so much tension this way that it will not come loose. In fact, I've seen some of the older ones. You know, these are, I use blankets, and what I do is I hang them up and I cut around them so you have one long continuous strip, and then I just go shuttle to shuttle. But some of the older weavers, it was before everybody had sewing machines, they would, like with blue jeans, you'd be working with short strips and constantly splicing, because I reweave a lot of old rugs for people that, you know, rugs that are wore out. The only thing that ever wears out is the string. So on those old ones, if I reweave an old rug, like I said, the only thing that wears out is the strings. So I'll take them apart and reweave them. I just cut them like every 4 inches and take them apart. But those old ones that are pieced together, it gets to be a real slow deal, because you're working sometimes with little short 6-inch strips, and I got to try to keep them in the order that they originally were. But people like to get their old rugs back. You know, sometimes it's something that's been in the family for a while that a relative made or something, so it's wore out, but they can't use it, but they can't bring themselves to get rid of it either. So if they can get it back looking like new and they can actually use it, it's kind of nice fun. Okay, now I should explain when they're done. When I'm done weaving them, like I said, I can roll it up and it'll be like a 4 or 5 foot rug. Then I'll cut it off here and take every 8 strings timed together in a knot, and the knot is what actually holds it together, and then you've got like a 2-inch fringe on it. But it doesn't go bad. I mean, there's a lot of times, it takes a while to cut the blankets up, but I've gotten pretty good at that. And I use these Fiskars scissors that got a spring in them so your hand doesn't get tired. And a blanket will make about a 4 foot rug on average. At the 27 wide, when I work on the 4 harnesses, which I do a lot on, and there's 4 of these rather than 2, and you've actually got 6 pedals, and you can do a pattern in the warp. I've got a bunch of those on Etsy. I do sales online on Etsy, and it's logcabinlooms.etsy.com. But if you look there, you can see a lot of the bull blanket ones that are done on the 4 harness. And I should say too, the wool, what I do with these blankets, when I get them, I bring them to the laundromat, wash them in hot, and dry them really hot in a gas dryer to shrink them up so then they can be washed. I'm sorry about them dogs, but 2 of them got into a little argument this morning, and in this cold weather, they all get a little touchy. They're kind of a little eager, let's say. But I had one running for a while this morning, and then the other ones get jealous, and now they're kind of taking it out on him. So there's just a lot of threatening. They can't actually get at each other. Well, that's how it goes. I'll shut the camera off because I've just burned up memory card. But I guess I'll give you a little closer look at the... See, this is up you don't see on a lot of these old looms, like the really nice carving. A lot of times they're fairly crude. This one, whoever built it, you know, he put a lot of work into it. But it's nice, and then, like the joints, like say here now, this is mortised all the way through, and then pinned with wooden dowels. You know, it's just a very strong design, which is why it's lasted 200 years.